So coming to the second lecture, that is routes of drug administration. Now what do you understand by routes of drug administration? Routes of drug administration means what are the different paths or what are the different routes by which the drug can be administered into the body. The drug can be given into the body, or we can say the different routes by which the drug can be taken into the body. That is known as routes of administration. So in this we are first going to see the introduction. What are the different factors which determine the route of administration? First pass metabolism, channels of drug administration. So these are the different subtopics we are going to cover in this lecture. Coming to the introduction. So as I told you, it is the path by which the drug or fluid or any other substance is taken into the body. Now what is administration? Administration of the drug is a common and important clinical procedure. Without giving the drug to the patient, he cannot be treated, right? So it is very common and a very important clinical procedure to administer the drug to the patient. Now these drugs can be given through many different routes. Either it can be given locally, or it can be administered orally, or it can be given via parenteral route, that is via injection. So there are numerous routes by which the drugs can be given to the patient or by which the drug can enter the body. Now what does route of administration affect? Different routes will have different onset of action. That means how quick the action of the drug is. It depends upon the route of administration and the duration of action. For how long the drug is acting, that is the duration of action. So the onset and the duration of action of a drug depend upon the route of administration. For example, if we take an oral route, the onset of action will be slow. Maybe after 15 minutes or 20 minutes it will start showing its effect. But for parenteral route, the same drug produces quick onset of action. Parenteral means in the form of injection. So it will show quick action. That is known as onset of action. For oral it will be slow. For parenteral or injections it will be fast. Therefore, in most of the emergency situations, injections are preferred to give a quick onset of action. Now, what are factors which determine the route of administration? Now, you cannot take any patient and give any route of administration. There are certain factors which has to be taken in mind, which has to be kept in mind before a route of administration is selected. For example, physical and chemical properties of the drug. So my question is, can a solid drug in the solid form, can it be given by parenteral route? Who said yes? Good. So if a drug is in the solid form, it cannot be given in the form of a injection, right? So the physical and the chemical property of the drug also determines the route of administration, whether it is solid, liquid, gas, gas solidity and stability. So all these things determine the route of administration. Site of desired action. What is the site of action? Whether do we want a local action or a generalized action? That also determines the route of administration. Generalized means throughout the body. Local means at a certain place. Treatment type. Whether it is a routine treatment or emergency treatment. Routine treatment means taking every day. Emergency treatment means we want a quick action. So that also determines the route of administration, which route to be selected. In routine treatment, mostly oral route is selected, but in emergency treatment, injections are selected for quick action. Condition of the patient is also important to choose the correct route of administration. Whether the patient is conscious, whether the patient is unconscious, or whether the patient is vomiting. So among these three, conscious, unconscious, and vomiting, oral route can be given in which type of patient? Conscious, unconscious, or vomiting? Good. So in a conscious patient, oral route can be given, but whereas in unconscious and vomiting, if the patient is unconscious or if the patient is suffering with vomiting, then oral route cannot be given to the patient. Next is need to bypass first pass metabolism. Now, what is first pass metabolism? I will let you know in the next slide. Now, greater the first pass metabolism, less drug will reach the systemic circulation. So, if the first pass metabolism is too much, that means actually in simple words, first pass metabolism means the drug passes through the liver and most of the drug is lost in the liver. That is known as first pass metabolism. So first, sorry, there was some problem. So first pass metabolism actually means when a drug is taken in the oral route, through the oral route, the drug passes through the liver. And in the liver, some of the drug gets metabolized and the remaining drug reaches the systemic circulation. So that is also taken care and that also determines the route of administration. Now we will see in detail what is first pass metabolism. So first pass metabolism usually happens when the drug is taken via oral route. So the drug after metabolism it enters into the systemic circulation. So when a drug is taken it gets metabolized and then it enters into the blood circulation. Now, during metabolism, what will happen? The drug is exposed to different digestive enzymes, or you can say different metabolizing enzymes, either in the intestine or in the liver, right? So, after a drug is swallowed, it goes into the digestive system. From the digestive system, it goes to the liver, that is hepatic portal system. And from there, it enters into the rest of the body via the systemic circulation. So this is the sequence that is followed by the drug. Now what happens in the liver? Many drugs are metabolized and only a small amount of active drug enters the rest of the circulatory system. This is known as first pass metabolism and this reduces the bioavailability of the drug. So it reduces the bioavailability. That means the amount of drug that is available to the body for producing its action. That is known as bioavailability. So the more the drug is digested by the liver, less amount of drug enters into the circulation and the bioavailability reduces. Simple example I will give you just for you to understand. Okay, for example, if we are taking a 500 mg of paracetamol through oral route. Okay, so this 500 mg, it enters into the body. It goes, first we are swallowing it. It goes into the digestive system. From there it is digested and it enters into the liver, that is hepatic portal system. Now in the liver, what is happening? This 500 mg is getting metabolized and it is exposed to different metabolizing enzymes in the intestine and in the liver. And finally, for example, 200 mg is entering into the circulation and remaining 350 mg, 350, 300 mg, sorry, remaining 300 mg will be excreted. So that 200 mg is reduced from 500. So actual amount which we took was 500 mg. But now because of the first pass metabolism, it is reduced to 200 mg. That means the bioavailability of the drug is reduced through the first pass metabolism. So that is known as first pass metabolism. Now, what are the different channels of drug administration? There are three broad channels of drug administration: enteral, parenteral, and topical. Enteral means via oral. So it can be classified as oral, sublingual, buccal, rectal routes. Parenteral means, in simple words, injections. So there are numerous injections: intramuscular, intravenous, subcutaneous, intraperitoneal, intracardiac, arterial, articular, thecal, dermal, and medullary. Topical means transdermal, over the skin, transdermal, nasal, cutaneous, and inhalational. So these are the different routes of drug administration which are classified under three different channels: enteral, parenteral, and topical. Now first coming to the enteral route. In the enteral route, we are going to see about oral route. So as you know, oral route is the most oldest and the most common mode of drug administration. And what are the advantages? It is common, it is a safe route, it is convenient, it is painless, and it is economical also. But what are the disadvantages of oral route? The first disadvantage is it goes into first pass metabolism. That means some of the drug will be lost in the liver. Next disadvantage is drug action will be slow. So it is not suitable for emergency conditions. Next is if the drug is bitter or if the drug is irritating to the buccal mucosa, it cannot be administered. It also cannot be given to unconscious patients and uncooperative patients. And it can also not be given if the patient is suffering with vomiting and diarrhea. So these are the disadvantages. Next, coming to sublingual route. Now coming sublingual means you can understand lingual, under the lingual means tongue. Sublingual means under the tongue. So in this, the medication is kept under the tongue by which it diffuses into the blood through the tissues which are present below the tongue. That is known as sublingual route. Now the action is very fast, 1 to 2 minutes, and The drug does not goes to the liver also. Liver is bypassed. Next, disadvantage. Now, what are the disadvantages? Because the drug has to be absorbed through the tissues which are present below the tongue, the drug has to be lipid soluble because there is a lipid bilayer present in the cells. So if the drug is soluble in that lipid bilayer, then only it will be absorbed into the cells. So only lipid soluble drugs and non-irritating drugs can be given via sublingual route. One example is nitroglycerin. This drug is given if the patient develops severe chest pain. Okay, so severe chest pain, if the patient is developing, nitroglycerin is an emergency drug which can be kept below the tongue of the patient to reduce the chest pain or to minimize the attack, angina attack. Again, bad taste and bad odor drugs cannot be administered via sublingual route. Buccal route. So dosage form is placed between the gums and the inner line of the cheek. So that is known as buccal route. The drug will be placed in between the gums and the cheek and it will be absorbed via the buccal mucosa. Again, rapid absorption will be there, no first pass metabolism will be there, but the same disadvantage if the drug is bitter, unpalatable drugs cannot be given, but it will be a little bit inconvenient also. And if it is swallowed by mistake, then the drug is gone and small dose limits can only be given. Example is nicotine. Nicotine is used is given as a buccal route for people who are what do you say, struggling to stop smoking. Okay, for smoking cessation for such people because they are addicted to that, small nicotine buccal tablets will be given to them. Next, coming to rectal route. Now, in the rectal route, the medication or the fluid is introduced into the rectum and it is absorbed by the rectum's blood vessels and it enters into the circulatory system. Now, this rectal route is usually given in children, okay, because the children, they are not cooperative. Sometimes they spit out the drug. So in such cases, mostly it is given in children, but it can also be given in patients who have vomitings. Okay, so they cannot take by oral route. So rectal route can also be given. Given. The drug is having bad taste or odor, it can be given. Or if the drug degrades in the acidic pH. Now our stomach is having acidic pH. So there are few drugs, if they degrade or if they lose their therapeutic effect in the acidic pH, such type of can also be given via rectal route. Disadvantage, it is inconvenient and embarrassing and absorption is slow and irregular. Next, coming to parenteral route. Now there are many different types of parenteral routes. So the route of administration other than the alimentary tract is known as parenteral. Par, if you split it, parenteral. Enteral means beyond, involving the alimentary tract, that is known as parenteral. Now what can be the advantages? Now you can only tell the advantages. Rapid action will be there. It can be given in unconscious patients also. It can be given in patients who are having vomiting and diarrhea. And all the drugs which can irritate the stomach can be given via parenteral route. So all the advantages or majority of the disadvantages of the oral route becomes the advantages of parenteral route. Now what can be the disadvantages? In most of the cases, self medication cannot be taken. People cannot take it by their self. Okay, in most of the cases I'm telling, it can be inconvenient, it can be liable to infection, and it is painful. It requires technical skills, and aseptic conditions should be maintained. So all these things have to be maintained, and all these things have to be taken care of before giving an injection. So that comes under the disadvantages. Now coming to each type of injection, intradermal. So from the name only you can guess what type of injection it is. Intradermal, it is into the dermis layer of the skin. Example, BCG vaccine. Subcutaneous, into the subcutaneous layer of the skin. Example, insulin. Insulin is taken in the subcutaneous. Intravenous, that is into the vein, and it gives rapid action. Example, blood transfusions are given into the vein. Normal saline is given into the vein. Intramuscular, into the muscle. So a little bit more deeper into the muscle is known as intramuscular. But for giving intramuscular, care must be taken not to inject it near a nerve, so which might lead to nerve damage. Intra-arterial, into the artery. So usually in for carrying out thrombolysis. Thrombolysis means lysis always means breakdown. Thrombolysis means breaking a clot which is present in the artery. So such for type of thing, intra-arterial route is administered, or for checking angiograms. So in these cases, intra-arterial route is preferred. Intramedullary, into the bone marrow. So this is usually used in bone marrow transplantation. Intrathecal. Intrathecal means into the subarachnoid space. Now, this subarachnoid space is the space between the arachnoid membrane and the pia mater in the spinal cord. I don't know whether you know this or not, but the spinal cord is covered with different membranes, the dura mater, the arachnoid mater, and the pia mater. So the space between this arachnoid and the pia mater is known as subarachnoid space. In this space, the intrathecal injection is given. It is usually given for pelvic surgeries. Okay, lignocaine can be given for pelvic surgeries. That is, the anesthetic drug can be given for pelvic surgeries in the intrathecal, using the intrathecal route. Intra-articular, it is given into the joints, usually for people who are suffering with arthritis. So hydrocortisone acetate is a drug which is given inside the joint for people who are suffering with rheumatoid arthritis. Intraperitoneal, into the peritoneum. Now this is usually, or you can say mostly, given to animals when compared to humans. This is the peritoneal layer inside the skin. So over there, the intraperitoneal injection is given in animals. So it is used in veterinary medicine, and in humans it can be given for people who are suffering with ovarian or gastrointestinal cancer. So intraperitoneal route is mostly given in animals, but in humans for cancers of the ovary and gastrointestinal tract, intraperitoneal route is preferred. Next, coming to the topical route. Topical means given on the surface of the skin. That means the drug is administered directly on the surface of the skin. So it will show local effects, not systemic effects. So it is not well absorbed in the deeper layer of the skin, and it shows low risk of side effects because it is having a local action and the drug does not absorb deep inside the skin. Transdermal route. So application of the drug to the skin as a transdermal patch. So this transdermal patches is usually used, nicotine patches are used for people who are struggling to stop smoking, or apart from that, nitroglycerin ointment patches are used in people who might suffer from chest pain. Okay, so what is the function of these patches? It causes the release of the drug at a steady, constant level into the body. So it is known as sustained delivery drugs. So from now and then, small amounts of drugs will be released into the body and it will be absorbed via the skin. So it helps in a steady level of drug into the body. So highly lipid soluble drugs can be applied for slow and prolonged option. So prolonged absorption. So the drug has to be lipid soluble in order to be absorbed into the skin. So such type of drugs can only be given via a transdermal patch. Next is cutaneous route. Slow and prolonged absorption will be there. Liver will be bypassed, that is no first pass metabolism applied over a specific area of the skin. Now, what are the disadvantages? It cannot be used in emergency situations, and water soluble drugs are not absorbed. Only lipid soluble drugs are absorbed via the skin or cutaneous route, etc. Inhalational route, that means the drug is inhaled. What are the advantages? Dose can be controlled, amount of drug can also be regulated. But if the drug or the gas or the liquid, whatever is there, if it is irritant to the respiratory tract, then it can cause inflammation of the respiratory tract. Such type of drugs cannot be given. Nasal route via the nose. So it also avoids digestive juices and liver is bypassed. Drugs are readily absorbed. Again, the same thing, irritant drugs cannot be administered via the nasal route. So these are the different routes of administration. The three main channels of the routes of administration, and within that you have different types of routes of administration. And apart from that, what are the different factors that determine the route of administration? What is known as first pass metabolism? So I hope it's clear to all of you.